It wasn't until the cigarette burned my butt that I seemed to come to my senses and took it out of my mouth. I stared blankly at Carter, who was surrounded by a group of alphas not far away, and quickly ducked into a nearby alley just before he could notice me. In the darkness, I snuffed out the cigarette butt, and the curve of my mouth straightened. I held my breath and listened to the movement outside. It wasn't until the surroundings became quiet again that I suppressed my inner thoughts and walked home. But I was so excited that I couldn't help humming a little tune while turning the key when opening the door. With a click, the door opened. Just as I was about to push the door, a pale and bony hand covered mine on the doorknob. A scorching body pressed tightly against mine, and heavy breathing hit my face. The pheromones of a senior alpha spread in the corridor, exuding a strong sense of oppression. But as an ordinary person, I didn't notice it at all. I just felt a strange flutter in my heart. Just as I was about to speak, someone covered my mouth. "Benjamin, it's me. Why are you back so late?" I silently rolled my eyes and nodded. I had known who it was from the start. If I hadn't felt guilty about something, I would have already elbowed him in the face. "Brother, answer me. Why did you come home so late?" "I've been waiting for ages." I yanked the hand covering my mouth down. "Do you expect me to transmit my answer via telepathy with your hand over my mouth?" Carter, already used to my sharp tongue, embraced me as we stepped inside without much reaction, persistently repeating his earlier question. "Brother, why are you home so late today? You're half an hour later than usual." I wriggled free from Carter's arms around my waist, bent down to the shoe cabinet, and took out a pair of discounted slippers for both of us. Putting them on by myself, I walked into the room. "I worked overtime tonight. Some guests didn't leave after dinner. Do you really not get tired of asking the same thing every day?" "I never mind. There's nothing about brother that I don't want to know." Carter slipped on his slippers and walked over to me, but just as he was about to wrap his arms around my waist again, I sharply knocked his hand away. "All right, what do you want to eat tonight? While I'm in a good mood, hurry up and order." Carter's fingers hovered in the air before he unconsciously rubbed them together, staring blankly at my face. The bright light shone on his face, and I couldn't see the expression in his eyes. "It's like this again." I've lost count of how many times he's stared blankly at my face. I sighed and waved my hand in front of him a few times. "Hey, zoned out again. Is my face that handsome you get distracted every time you look at it, or does seeing me remind you of someone?" Carter snapped back to attention, his eyes and brows curling into a compliant smile. "No, bro is just too handsome." I got mesmerized, praised by a handsome guy for my looks. I accepted the compliment with some cheekiness and replied, "Don't be insecure. You're pretty handsome yourself." Carter seemed taken aback by my thick skin, offering a helpless smile before agreeing. Yes, you're the handsomest in the world." Pleased with the compliment, I hurried into the kitchen and quickly prepared 3 dishes and a soup. After a good meal, I took a shower and lay in bed, looking at the small patterns on the ceiling, feeling that life was really wonderful. "Brother, I washed your clothes and hung them up on the balcony." The tall alpha wore a black sleeveless tank top, his well-defined muscles catching my eye. Sure enough, as expected of a top-level alpha, without any fancy tricks, he's just plain handsome. I snapped back to reality as I noticed Carter standing on the balcony, holding a pair of white boxer briefs. I rolled over, rushed to the balcony in a few steps, and snatched the underwear from Carter's hands. My ears turned red as I said, "Carter, I've told you many times, I'll wash my own underwear. It's too personal for anyone else." Carter smiled and touched the back of my ear with his damp hand. "Got it. Brother, you're so shy." Being called shy by a grown man made me furious. I glared at him and said, "Who said I'm shy?" Carter rubbed my earlobe with a teasing look in his eyes. "Your ears told me." After hanging up the underwear, I pushed Carter's hand away and vigorously rubbed my ear several times. Then, without batting an eyelid, I argued, "Nonsense. It was you who pinched my ears red." As night fell, with the air conditioner humming away in the room, I was just starting to drift off. A hand rested on my waist and stomach. "Brother, are you asleep?" I didn't want to answer, so I kept my eyes closed and tried to drift off. If I engaged with that kid behind me, we'd both be awake in the middle of the night again. Carter got no response, so his hand started moving upward, until it reached my left chest. After a long pause, he said, "Brother, I know you're not asleep, Your heartbeat is off. You're crazy. Bro, you saw it tonight, didn't you? Carter's voice was soft, but it hit like a bomb. With a sudden shock, I was forced to open my eyes. Bro, don't you have anything you want to ask? The kid kept calling me bro. I looked out into the endless night and spoke. I don't want to ask. I think it's better if you tell me yourself when you're ready. I want to trust you. No sooner had the words left my mouth than Carter lunged forward, holding me tightly with his head buried in the back of my neck. Bro, I really like you, I chuckled. Come on, there are plenty of people who like their big brother. You'll have to take a number. Carter's muffled voice came through. Bro, you're so full of yourself, and not like, at all. The kid spoke his last sentence so quietly that I didn't catch it just as I was about to ask. Then Carter seemed to fall asleep instantly. I'm going to sleep. Don't forget to wake me up early tomorrow. I turned around with a smile, tapping his forehead with my fingertip. No conscience at all. He woke me up and then fell asleep so quickly himself. Benjamin, room, 2 bottles of fill. Commission. The bar owner was a beta, his eyes sharp and calculating as he held up 2 fingers for 6. I took the tray with delight and made an okay sign. Consider it done. Carrying the drinks carefully, I arrived at the VIP room 3 and knocked lightly 3 times. Only after hearing a voice from inside say come in did I push the door open. In the private room, there were over 10 men and women, with a faint blue scent lingering everywhere. I lowered my eyes, respectfully placed the drinks on the counter, then stood up to leave. The alpha sitting in the middle of the sofa raised a hand to stop me. Don't go, that scent on you feels familiar. I replied respectfully without being overly subservient. Boss, I'm a beta. The pheromone might just be from accidental contact. The alpha gave a meaningful hum. William, it seems I found your little guy. The one called William was also an alpha, but his features were so androgynous that gender was hard to distinguish. Upon being woken up, he was in a bad mood. Miles, I hope you have a good reason for this. Miles lazily pointed at me and said, see if it looks familiar. It's the same smell as your beloved brother. William sobered up and slowly walked over to me, sniffing my neck a few times like a dog. Before looking at my face, he let out a dry chuckle, playing the substitute lover game. That's about all he can do. His words were vague and confusing, leaving me bewildered, but I didn't dare to ask for clarification. I kept my head bowed respectfully and waited until the 2 of them waved me off before hurriedly slipping away. On my way home from work, I was completely lost in thought. William, little brother, scent, substitute lover. I tried to connect these words into a coherent thread, but before I could sort out my thoughts, Carter was already standing at the apartment door, his eyes lighting up as he looked at me. Bro, hey. I answered, then ran over a few steps. Why are you down here instead of waiting at home? Carter wrapped his arm around mine. Because I wanted to see my brother. I patted the hand, tightly gripping my arm, just as I was about to ask him to loosen up, when I heard his cold voice questioning me. Brother, what's that scent on you? What kind of scent? As a beta, I couldn't smell myself at all, and Carter's question really confused me. Seeing that my expression was genuine, Carter pulled me inside with an unreadable look on his face. The door clicked shut, and I was pinned against it by Carter. Just as I tried to speak, the brat grabbed my chin and silenced me with a kiss. My struggles and resistance were easily overpowered by the brat. After the kiss ended, I was panting heavily and kicked him in the back of his knee. Are you crazy? Attacking me like this? Carter touched the small wound on his corner of the mouth that I had just bitten, his eyes deep and dark. Brother, let's be together. I like you. You're insane. The reprimand was stifled in my throat. Looking at Carter in disbelief, I reached out to check his head. Did you hit your head and get some kind of after effect? Carter stood there, letting me do as I pleased. Brother, I'm serious. Let's be together. I was about to refuse when he cupped my face and looked at me with deep eyes. Brother, you've never been in a relationship before, right? Wanna try it out with me? I admit I have weak knees for handsome guys. If a good-looking person confesses their feelings sincerely like this, anyone would struggle to resist. My hesitation was taken as consent by Carter, and it wasn't until his hand brushed against my waist that I finally snapped out of it. I jumped back like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. I stood far away from Carter, holding my hand up to block my chest. Hey, I haven't agreed yet. What are you doing? So, what does it take for brother to agree to my confession? Carter slid his hands into his pockets and struck a pose on purpose. He wore a black turtleneck that highlighted his bulging chest muscles and defined, athletic lines. I had absolutely no resistance against an alpha of his caliber standing opposite me. I swallowed hard and forced myself to stay calm. Look, I just took you in off the street. I don't know much about you at all. Meanwhile, you probably already know everything about me. I feel like this isn't balanced. I don't want to date a stranger. It brings no sense of security and just drains my emotions. One's capacity for love is limited, and I'm not in the business of making bad deals. Even I was shocked by such profound words coming out of my own mouth, especially Carter, who has to endure my sharp tongue every day. He paused for a moment, then a smile spread across his lips. You're right, brother. Then let's start over. My real name is Matthew. I'm the stepson of the Chu group boss, with no blood relation. I'm 22 years old, an alpha, and my blood type is B. The reason I got hurt was because I was being pursued by enemies of the Chu family and was picked up by you by chance. My heart raced. Then why didn't you go back? Because of you, brother. The moment I saw you, my instincts kicked in. I don't want to leave you, and I can't. Carter stepped closer, his presence filling the room. Even as a beta, I could feel the shift in the air. As Carter moved forward, I kept backing away, but there was a wall behind me. I had nowhere left to go. Let me think it over and consider it carefully. After all, this is a major life decision, and you need time to prepare. I swallowed hard, this time out of nerves. Carter stopped in his tracks, staring straight at me. Brother, don't think about it anymore. I can't wait that I want you. I want a proper identity to claim you, to hold you tight, and to tell every creature trying to leave their scent on you that you belong to me. Brother, can you give me this chance? I didn't know how to answer. This was way too intense. As a financially motivated young man from society, I just couldn't handle it. Seeing me tempted, Carter immediately raised the stakes. Plus, brother, I'm quite wealthy. If we're together, my assets will be shared with you. I own a fleet of sports cars. And don't you like mechas? I have an entire showroom full of them. Once we're together, all of these will be yours too. Damn it, I was tempted. Dean Mom. Forgive me, but I've decided to bow my back for wealth and beauty after all. On the very night our relationship was confirmed, a luxury car took us straight to a grand manor. The estate was so huge that my eyes couldn't keep up with everything. It wasn't until Carter carried me into the main hall that I awkwardly jumped out of his arms amidst the servants' unanimous greeting of young master. Seriously, your family is way too rich, a heartless capitalist. Carter looked at me with a smile, reached out to hold my hand, and kept his fingers playfully interlacing with mine, insisting on holding hands tightly. I sighed helplessly in my heart, leaned close to Carter's ear, and whispered, "You're way too clingy." Carter nodded openly. "Yes, because I've never felt secure around you, brother. Sigh. Alright then, I'll just reluctantly let you hold my hand. As your boyfriend, I might as well be generous." Holding Carter's hand, we walked into the luxurious Chinese-style villa, and seeing mechs everywhere made my mouth water. I suddenly let go of Carter's hand and threw myself onto the pile of mechs. My real man, my Yaoi, I can finally have you to myself for a while. Carter stuffed his discarded hand into his pocket and asked, "Why does it say for a while?" I was so obsessed with the mechs that I didn't even respond to Carter's question. Later in bed, Carter firmly took the mechs away from my hands. He then started unbuttoning my pajamas, which barely had any buttons to begin with. I watched the mech suit being tossed outside the door with reluctance, and when I came back to myself, this person was almost stripped bare by Carter. "Wait, Carter, what are you doing?" It was hard to make out Carter's expression in the dark. As a beta, I couldn't smell his pheromones. Only the heavy scent of alcohol on him made me feel uncomfortable. "Why did you drink so much?" Annoyed by my constant pushing and dodging, Carter pinned my wrist above my head with one hand. His eyes held no emotion, only coldness. "Be good. We're already in a relationship now. You should give this to me, brother." "Brother?" Chew. Carter was completely different tonight. When he leaned over to bite my collarbone, I drove a knee straight into his stomach. Then I pushed him away cleanly and stood up by the bed, slapping him across the face while he grimaced in pain. Carter stared at me in disbelief. Brother, what are you doing? I pulled my hand back, which was still tingling from the impact, and looked at him expressionlessly. Carter, I've told you before, I won't do anything like this with you until we are officially registered as married. His face twisted for a moment before he clutched his stomach to sit up, wearing an expression of his usual submission. Brother, I understand now. I was wrong. I got confused because of the drinking. I didn't say a word and just turned away from him. Carter got out of bed, but as soon as he tried to get close, I dodged him. He picked up the suit jacket from the bedside and draped it over me. Brother, I'm sorry. I'll sleep downstairs tonight. Then he pushed the door open and left, standing in the room thick with alpha pheromones. I tore off the jacket he had just put on me and threw it onto the bed. Carter, who exactly are you calling brother for? Since that night, Carter started coming and going at odd hours, and he quietly arranged for my dismissal as well. Facing my interrogation, he gently stroked my face and softly said he couldn't bear to see me work hard outside, claiming he could support me. I scoffed at him. Ever since Carter and I got together, he seemed like a completely different person. The gentle and obedient behavior he used to show felt like a dream, but now that the day has broken, it's time to wake up, and Carter had returned to his true self. Brother, I might be back very late tonight, so there's no need to wait up for me. Carter tightened his tie and walked over to my side. The alpha was tall and imposing, standing before me like a wall. He bent down to grab my face, slowly lowering himself, but I immediately turned my head to avoid him. Carter's eyes darkened. Brother, we're going to get married. He said it with such certainty that I just rolled my eyes silently. Just go already, you're acting crazy all day. Carter grunted in agreement, stole a kiss on my cheek, and left with a smug smile. Once he was gone, I scrambled to my feet, fixed myself up, shoved my hands into my pockets, and prepared to leave Carter's house. As soon as I stepped outside, a car pulled up right in front of me. The rear window rolled down, revealing William's face. Benjamin, right, can we talk? I scoffed and was about to walk around when a bodyguard in black got out of the car. Open door, get in, close door. I executed the whole sequence smoothly. If it weren't for the context, I almost wanted to compliment myself on looking cool. William gave me a brief glance and got straight to the point. You know Matthew's identity, right? I nodded. I did know, but only just now. William added, since you're aware of what Matthew has been doing, I'd like to offer my apologies as his older brother. Here we go again with the vagueness. My confusion must have been pretty obvious on my face. William paused, looking surprised. You don't know? Know what? I asked in return. Seeing that my expression was genuine, William looked at me with a gaze full of pity. Inside, I wanted to curse him out for that look. Seriously, what kind of eyes are those? I thought this to myself, but seeing the two burly men in black standing guard ahead, I chose to speak politely. I'm afraid I don't quite understand young Master Chu's intentions. William asked, do you know that Matthew sees you as a substitute? I honestly shook my head. William seemed taken aback by my answer, so he waved his hand and signaled the driver to start the car. You'll see soon enough. The car drove smoothly for a while before stopping in front of a castle. Yes, it was indeed a castle. Just as I was about to step out with wide-eyed wonder, William held me back. Stay in the car and don't move. Everything you don't understand will be explained soon. I sat in the car, quietly waiting for the other shoe to drop in the endless dark. Brother, why are you so late? Carter's voice came from outside the car, and I instinctively prepared to answer. Through the window, I saw Carter intimately holding William's arm, wearing a sweet expression I hadn't seen in a long time. You still remember me? I thought you were having too much fun outside after our breakup. How could that be? You're the one who suggested breaking up. Even when I asked to get back together, you didn't agree. Matthew, we can't be together. Brother, is it really impossible? The way William and Carter spoke revealed an intimacy that left no room for others to intervene. So Carter could also lower himself to coax someone. After all, William leaned close to Carter. Matthew, we can date, but we can't marry. Besides, haven't you finished handling your own matters yet? Carter's voice instantly rose with excitement. Brother, are you jealous over Benjamin? It doesn't matter. He's just a substitute for you. He'll be easy to handle. He only saved me for money in the first place, I can just pay him off. Every word Carter spoke drifted into the car, making the cramped space feel even more congested with their presence. Even the air seemed to grow thin. Otherwise, why would I find it hard to breathe, watching the two of them walking away with their arms linked? I pushed open the car door and stepped out. Carter, oh wait. Matthew, can that money be paid now? I need it pretty urgently. 13. I could clearly see Matthew's face darken to the extreme after I said that. He immediately let go of William's hand and moved toward me. William stopped him. Sorry, Benjamin, this is an issue on our Chu family's end. This card has 30 million. This payment for saving Matthew. Take it, and you'll have no more ties with anyone in the Chu family. William handed me a card. I didn't answer. I just stared straight at the card. Turns out, 30 million could be so thin. But it felt heavy too. How many people had bent their backs for something like that? Brother, don't take it. Carter ran over in big strides and knocked the card out of William's hand. His eyes were blazing with rage as he stared at me, a look of pleading on his face. I felt a bit amused. Lynn, Matthew, I really did like you. After that disgusting display, I smoothly bent down to pick up the card from the ground and turned to leave. I listened to Matthew and William arguing behind me, held my head high, and marched forward with long strides. Now I had the money. Once I got back home, I immediately booked a flight and packed my bags. I left City C under the cover of night. Inside the bar booth, under the dim lighting, I blocked Matthew's contact information one by one. After finishing everything, I looked up at the ceiling light and let out a heavy sigh. Are you alone, handsome? A waiter wearing a black vest and shirt sat beside me, swaying his hips. I turned my head and noticed the suppressant patch on his slender neck, understanding immediately. Pretty Omega, since we're alone, do you want to have a drink with me? The young Omega's eyes lit up instantly. He poured a glass of wine and brought it to my lips. The golden liquid shimmered like the intoxicating nightlife, drawing me in. Just as I opened my mouth to take a sip, a bottle cap flew through the air and hit my chest where my shirt was unbuttoned, exposing my skin. The metal cap felt cold against my skin. I shivered and sprang to my feet. Who was it? Who threw that? Show yourself. The little Omega jumped up in fright and tried to come closer to me. I pushed him away irritably. Come out. Whoever threw it, have the guts to do it but not admit it? Right after that, a man appeared on the second floor. He was a beta, since there was nothing on his neck. Only betas had no scent and didn't need suppression patches or marking patches. In an instant, all the eyes in the bar were drawn to him, including mine. Simply put, this beta was incredibly good-looking. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm sorry. The beta looked full of guilt, with redness at the corners of his eyes that seemed moistened, like he had applied rouge. It was enough to tug at anyone's heartstrings. I stared at the man's face, touched my nose tip, and thought how incredibly handsome he was. Forget it, it wasn't a big deal anyway, so I decided not to make an issue of it with him. It's okay, just be more careful next time. Before I could finish my sentence, the man on the second floor was surrounded by a group of tall, imposing alphas who looked fierce. It was too far away to hear what the alphas were saying. I could only see the beta pressed tightly against the railing, looking thoroughly unwilling. Since I didn't know anyone here and had no way to intervene, I quickly turned away, pulled some cash from my pocket, and stuffed it into the small Omega's uniform pocket nearby. With both hands in my pockets, I gave a wave and left the bar. By the time I had already gone out, I didn't see how the intimidating alpha on the second floor instantly became submissive. Nor did I catch how the once fragile beta turned gloomy and unhinged in a split second. At that moment, I looked out at the torrential rain pouring down like water from a bucket, feeling a bit helpless. So, are you saying traffic's bad and I need to wait another 20 minutes? The driver's weary explanation rang in my ears as I pressed the cigarette butt into the ground. Got it, hurry up. The line went dead. Watching the puddles on the ground splashing with raindrops, I lit another cigarette. Just as the smoke had burned halfway down, noises and angry shouts came from the alley next door. Look at yourself acting all high and mighty just because you're poor. You should be grateful I even looked your way. I offered you a drink, but you wouldn't take it. The curses, accompanied by the dull sounds of punches and kicks, kept drifting into my ears. I took a drag from my cigarette and turned my head to look. The pale moonlight illuminated the pretty beta's face, twisted in pain and endurance. Sigh. I let out a slight sigh, tossing the cigarette pack into a nearby trash can. With a thud as the pack hit the bin, I stood up and walked toward the alley. Hey, what are you doing? The street lamp next to the alley slowly flickered on. Its dim yellow light illuminated the once dark and shadowy lane. The hope bursting from the beta's despairing eyes almost blinded me, for burly alphas watched me in silence. One had his fist raised high, but when he saw who I was, a playful smirk spread across his face. What's up, kid? Trying to be the hero and save the girl? As soon as he finished speaking, the other 3 alphas burst into loud laughter. I shook my head, and before they could react, I delivered a swift kick to the crotch of the alpha with his fist raised. Before anyone could react, I took off running. As expected, they shouted curses and chased after me. Even the alpha I kicked in the groin clutched himself, limping along with a pained expression as he pursued me. I ran while scanning my surroundings. Having dodged the principal's wife's clutches every day since childhood, I was a pro at escaping. When I finally caught my breath and left the group of alphas behind, I turned back to look at the alley. The beta hadn't run away at all. He was just leaning against the wall in a very cool pose. Why didn't you run? I was waiting for you to come back. Wait, what happened? Why are you down? I looked helplessly at the beta who had fallen stiffly to the ground, his eyes tightly shut and face flushed with heat. I reached out to touch him. Wow, he was burning up hot enough to fry an egg without oil or a pan. Sighing in resignation, I smoothed my hair back and hauled him to his feet. All right then, I suppose I'll play the hero all the way through today. As soon as he stood up, I realized this beta was actually half a head taller than me. I'm already on the taller side for my group, but he still towered over me. It made me feel a bit unbalanced inside. The next moment, a scalding breath hit the back of my neck. It was so hot I almost let go. I turned around and saw his head resting in the crook of my neck, burning with fever and barely conscious. Who would have thought that my act of kindness that night would lead this handsome beta to cling onto me directly? He knew I was just a traveler visiting, and he enthusiastically showed me around the local customs. He told me his name is Henry, and he also confessed that he likes me. You like me? Henry nodded seriously. Yeah, I do. I want to be with you. Seeing the sincerity in Henry's eyes, I felt a bit flustered. Well, I knew it. I do have charm, but man, we've only known each other for less than 10 days. You're already in love with me? I scratched my head in annoyance. You probably don't mean it like that. I saved you that night, and you mistook it for affection. Henry smiled, his dimple sweet and pure, leaving me momentarily dazed. The next second, he grabbed my hand and placed it against his chest. I instinctively tried to pull away, but Henry's grip was too strong for me to break free. Just as I looked up and prepared to ask him to let go of my hand, Henry suddenly leaned in close. His beautiful amber eyes were filled with intense warmth, and I instinctively wanted to look away, but he grabbed my chin with his other hand. We were very close, our breathing intertwining. Please let go of me first. We can talk properly. There's no need to be so close. Henry puffed out his cheeks, acting a bit childish. No way. If I don't get closer, you'll definitely reject me right away. I sighed helplessly. Even if he didn't come closer, I'd still have to reject him. Be good and let me go. Kid, you're squeezing so hard. What do you even eat? So, are you going to accept my confession? Brother? That single brother instantly reminded me of some heartless jerk. I gathered my strength and shoved Henry away, quickly putting distance between us. Stay right there. Don't come any closer, and don't call me brother. Henry stumbled back after being pushed, his face flushed with a look full of grievance. Why? Why can't you let me call you brother? Do you have another little brother? Did he also confess to you as brother? If I'm here, why look at him? Those 3 deadly questions left me speechless. Why do you ask so many questions? I won't accept any confessions. You've entertained me these past few days, which makes up for saving your life that night. Now please go home. Before Henry's eyes could turn red, I quickly turned my head away. Brother, it's very late now. Can I stay for the night and leave tomorrow? I looked out the window. As expected, it was already quite late. Last time Henry had a fever, I brought him back to my hotel room and took care of him all night. Anyway, we've already stayed together once before. It's late now, so it wouldn't be safe for such a pretty beta like him to go back alone. Fine, you sleep on the sofa. Otherwise, there are blankets in the cabinet. You can make up your own bed on the floor. Henry stopped looking so pitiful and started grinning brightly. Thanks, brother. I knew you were the best. I let out a dry chuckle. I wasn't nearly as kind as he thought. I'm gonna take a shower. Handle the blankets yourself. Okay. When I came out of the bathroom again, Henry was taking off his shirt on the makeshift bed he'd prepared by the side. Those tight, well-defined muscles were simply mesmerizing. So that's what skinny in clothes, muscular without them really means. Couldn't help but sigh. Bro, your phone just rang. I walked over to the bed, picked up the phone, and saw it was the director's call. I glanced at Henry, who was reaching for his zipper, then took the phone and headed to the balcony. It was slow getting answered. Someone finally picked up just as the ringing was about to stop. Hello? Is this Ms. Lucy's family member? She fainted and is currently being treated in the hospital emergency room. Please come over. I slammed the glass door to the balcony shut behind me. Henry saw my panicked state and quickly stood up to support me, asking, brother, what's wrong? I didn't care about anything else. I just took off my robe and went to change clothes. I have to go out for a while. Henry's gaze fixed on something in the distance, and he asked, where are you going? I'm heading back to City C. Henry's eyes instantly grew sharp, yet his voice remained gentle as he asked, so late, what do you need to go back to City C for? I didn't notice the subtle shift in Henry's demeanor. I was still fumbling with my shirt buttons, my hands trembling. Something happened to my family. Henry let out a slow breath, gently moved my hands away, and buttoned my shirt for me, one by one. Brother, let me stay with you. It's getting late, and it'll be hard to find a ride. My heart skipped a beat at his words. What should we do? Henry held my hands with both of his, the warmth of his body radiating through our palms. He told me to leave it all to him. I looked at the sleek, colorful helicopter in front of me and rubbed my chin. Where did you get it? Henry leaned in close to me. Bro, this is mine. Are you from a wealthy family? Henry looked a bit upset. I never said I was broke. Thinking about it, that makes sense. I jumped to conclusions. Wait, a rich kid getting bullied in a bar? My mind was full of questions, but this wasn't the time to seek answers. Sure enough, there's nothing quite like flying compared to running on land or swimming in water. It took less than 2 hours to reach City Central Hospital. The plane landed on the hospital roof, and we took the elevator up to the floor where the emergency room was located. I watched the green light flash on the door and slowly leaned against the cold wall. Before I could feel the chill, Henry pulled me into his embrace. Warmth passed between us where our bodies touched. Too exhausted to pull away, I whispered, why do people have to go through life, aging and death? Henry held me tightly in his arms. Maybe it's all just an experience of the world, a way to welcome a better new beginning next time. Feeling comforted, I buried my face into Henry's collarbone. Hot tears ran from my eyes, soaking his clothes. The doctor said if she falls into a coma again and has to go back into the emergency room, then, shoo brother, everything will be fine. It really will. Henry's hand kept gently patting my back, his voice a soft murmur of comfort in my ear as the sharp scent of disinfectant filled the air. Ultimately, the director said she would be fine, but she lay there just as before, unresponsive, in a deep vegetative state. I used a cotton swab to gently moisten her lips bit by bit. Looking at Ms. Lucy's pale, aging face, I swallowed the lump in my throat and spoke softly. Lucy, please wake up. I have good news. The 3 children with heart conditions here have already received their transplants. They're healthy now, able to laugh and run every day. They've become normal kids again. If you don't wake up soon to see them, they'll grow up before you know it, and then they won't be as cute anymore. The heart monitor suddenly showed an increased heartbeat. I awkwardly wiped the tears from my face with the back of my hand. Don't worry about money. Do you still not trust me? Getting the funds with this clever head of mine is a breeze. The heart rate slowly stabilized again. Felt as if she were truly talking to me. The orphanage has now received donations from various sectors and is slowly improving. You no longer need to beg around for money just to survive. When you wake up, please come see us. Okay? A year ago, Lucy was thrown by a fatigued alpha driver while rushing to raise the surgical fees for 3 children with heart conditions at the orphanage. Since then, she had fallen into a vegetative state, while the driver's family faced their own struggles. His Omega wife suffering from leukemia and his Alpha son battling genetic illness. I saw the despair on the mother and son's faces as they refused compensation, so I gave them $10,000 instead. After all, as long as someone is still alive, there's always hope. The hospital room door was opened quietly, and Henry walked over. He held the test results. Brother, Auntie's checkup went well this time. Her fainting yesterday was likely just an isolated incident. She'll be fine. I see. Henry, thank you. I tossed the cotton swab into the trash can without turning around, because I didn't want anyone to see my swollen, messy eyes. But Henry insisted on looking anyway. He took my hand and led me out of the hospital room. At a stairwell to the side, he pressed me against the wall. He gently touched the redness under my eyes with his fingertips. Brother, if you want to cry, just let it out. Don't keep it inside. I turned my head and said, "Who says I want to cry?" Henry smiled warmly. Yes, you're the strongest, brother. Actually, I'm the one who wants to cry. Later when we go out, I'll just say it was me crying. He opened his arms. Brother, my shoulder is available for you to lean on. As soon as the words left his mouth, I threw myself into his arms. My stifled sobs slowly turned into hoarse cries, and finally into exhausted whimpers. From start to finish, Henry held me tightly, patting my back continuously in silent comfort. Just as I had cried enough and was about to lift my head from Henry's embrace, the stairwell door suddenly swung open. Matthew's angry scream rang out. What are you doing? Henry was pulled forcefully away from my arms, and Matthew grabbed my hand tightly. He stared at me with bloodshot eyes. The redness and swelling of mine seemed to pierce his gaze as he tightened his grip. I frowned and threw him off. He sneered, "You won't even let me touch you, but you're on fire with your new love. Benjamin, do you really love me? Do you like Benjamin? You're acting like a jerk yourself, looking at other dishes while eating from yours. Why should you demand loyalty from others?" Henry stepped in front of me, blocking the view between Matthew and I. Matthew hit a sore spot, instantly flying into a rage and raising his fist to strike. He got kicked in the stomach by Henry and was knocked to the ground with a thud. Why get so angry? Can't you even handle people talking about things you've done yourself? Matthew couldn't believe anyone in City C would dare to lay a hand on him, his face turning red with rage. Benjamin, our family can sue you for fraud regarding the 30 million you took and ran away with. Couldn't believe it. Wasn't that gratitude money your family gave me? How did this turn into fraud on my part? I pushed past Henry, determined to confront that beast. But Henry firmly grabbed my wrist, holding me back. He looked at me with a gentle smile. Brother, I'll handle this. Then, he raised his hand and tossed a card toward Matthew. The sharp edge of the card drew a line on his face. This card has 70 million. The remaining 40 million is to thank you for guiding Benjamin's growth and covering the medical expenses just now. The card fell to the ground, Matthew's expression turning extremely dark. Watching the card on the floor, I felt heartbroken beyond words. Once we left the stairwell, I glared at Matthew. You reckless spendthrift, do you have nowhere to put your money? Henry looked at me obediently. Brother, didn't we solve the trouble? You're wrong. Matthew doesn't care about that money at all. His mention of 30 million just now was a threat. I was still heartbroken over those 70 million. Just how rich is this kid? Throwing away 70 million feels like tossing a dime to him. I'll help you get that card back. Henry grabbed my wrist firmly, gently rubbing the spot that had turned red from Matthew's grip. Brother, do you really know Matthew well? I was about to nod confidently, but suddenly remembered how obedient and well-behaved Matthew had been in front of William, so I hesitated. I guess so. Let's not talk about that. Thank you so much for these past few days. If there's anything you need from me in the future, just say the word. Henry's eyes flashed with a glint of interest. Really? I nodded. Really, as long as it doesn't cost me my life. Henry's face turned a light shade of red. I want you to be my brother. I was speechless, and slowly pulled my wrist away from Henry's hand as he rubbed it. Rest assured, I said. As for finding you a brother, no matter if they are an alpha, omega, or beta, I will search high and low to find one for you. Suddenly, Henry cupped my face with his hands, closing the distance between us. There's no need to look. That person is Benjamin, right in front of me. The proximity was overwhelming. I felt my heart pounding wildly and tried to turn my face away, but there was nothing I could do. Slowly, Henry pressed his face closer to mine. Our breath mingled, and I could see the fine fuzz on his face with perfect clarity. The next moment, a cool touch landed on my lips. I tried to push him away, only to find that I had no strength in my arms. His lips parted mine, and the tangled, intimate atmosphere spread throughout the small room. It wasn't until the hospital room door was knocked on that I snapped back to reality. Regaining my strength, I shoved Henry away hard. I'm gonna check on the director. I'm leaving. I fled in a panic. Henry, left behind, touched the thin thread at the corner of his mouth and slowly curled into a smile. His eyes held an intense obsession, while his ear tips were flushed crimson. Watching the figure gradually fade into the distance ahead, he whispered softly, Brother, Benjamin." The nurse on her rounds glanced down and immediately covered her face with a folder. "Sir, the restroom is behind you." After giving the reminder, she ran off with a flushed complexion. Henry's gaze dropped, and he chuckled lightly. "You like him too, don't you? No need to rush. It won't be long." Seeing the director's condition improve, I finally felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. "Driver, please take me to Xingfu Residential District." The driver in the front seat replied with a cheerful smile. There was a strange smell inside the car. It made me feel a bit uncomfortable and drowsy, but I couldn't sleep just yet. I needed to carefully think about my relationship with Henry. That young man's affection came on too suddenly, and it was far too intense. A wealthy, handsome rich kid falling for me seemed like a fantasy. I was startled. Was he just playing with me? The moment that thought popped into my head, Henry's handsome face and that moist, tender kiss immediately came to mind. I cleared my throat, feeling a flush rise to my cheeks. I raised my hand to open the window, hoping the breeze would cool down the heat on my face. But as I glanced out, taking in the unfamiliar scene outside, I immediately became alert. "Driver, are you taking a side road?" The driver replied, "Yeah, the main road is too congested." I smiled and said, "I see. Is there a restroom nearby? I need to relieve myself. I drank too much water last night." The driver met my gaze in the rearview mirror and smiled. "Unfortunately, no, there are no restrooms around here." As he spoke, he raised his hand and sprayed a cloud of smoke toward the back seat. I quickly held my breath, but it was too late. It still managed to get on my face. Just before losing consciousness, I thought maliciously, "Terrible service. I have to give this driver a bad review." When I woke up again, I was tied tightly to an iron bar with chains. My head still felt heavy, and then a basin of cold water was poured over my head. I looked up, and William's enlarged face came into view. "Are you crazy?" I cursed in fright. William's face twisted with anger. "Rude." I laughed bitterly. "Come on, man. You kidnap me and then call me rude?" William swung another basin of cold water down. I shivered all over from the chill. "Are you stupid? What is wrong with you? What exactly do you want? It's all your fault." William suddenly lost control and smashed the basin in his hand. The stainless steel basin was dented from the impact. Looking at William, a word popped into my mind. A strong omega with brute strength. I held back a laugh and questioned him. "What did I do wrong? Tell me clearly. You tied me up here, cursed at me, and poured cold water on me. How did I offend you?" William ran his fingers through his sleek, well-groomed hair in irritation, looking up with a slightly unhinged expression. "It's all your fault. I had Matthew right where I wanted him, but he cut ties with the Chu family just for you. It's your doing." He turned away in anger and kicked the stainless steel basin far out of reach. "Matthew was so obedient to me, yet he repeatedly defied me for your sake. You deserve nothing but death. He was my toy, shaped entirely by my own hands. Why are you taking him away? Why?" Listening to William's words, my mind felt sluggish. Otherwise, why couldn't I figure out Matthew's meaning? "What are you implying?" William let out a twisted smile. "What am I implying? It's your fault again. Matthew has fallen for you now, and that makes you happy. My prized toy has developed feelings for someone else. Are you satisfied?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a dagger with a sharpened edge. I slowly calmed my shock and said, "You're mistaken. Matthew doesn't like me at all. He likes you. William shook his head. No. He told his father that he wants to be with you, even if it means giving up the Chu family. How can this happen? He's the company heir raised by the Chu family, my lifelong toy Williams. How could he just leave? I looked into William's eyes and had a bad feeling in my heart. My mind raced, combining this with what William had said, and I replied, "You're wrong. Matthew likes you the most. Do you remember those days I spent at his villa?" William nodded. I continued, "During those days, we didn't go all the way to the end. You know that too." William's expression darkened. "So what are you trying to say?" I sighed. "Do you know why?" "Because every time it came down to the final moment, he was calling your name. Is that true?" William asked, a hint of hesitation in his voice. I nodded. Yes, no one could bear hearing their boyfriend say someone else's name. The madness on William's face slowly faded as he looked at me, offering a faint smile. "But do you know who Matthew called out when they were together? That was a miscalculation." I shook my head. "I don't believe it." William paused, his eyebrows rising as he glared at me fiercely. "Believe what you want." With that, he kept advancing with the dagger in hand, the sharp edge flashing cold light. I used all my strength to keep my body from trembling. "William, does Matthew know you are doing this?" William shook his head. "How could I let my toy know that I am insane?" I racked my brain to find a new topic, but before I could speak it, William interrupted me. "Shut up and stop talking. Don't think I don't know you are stalling. If you say one more word, I will cut out your tongue first." My pupils dilated. He was a sane yet vicious madman. "Then go ahead and kill me. That means you'll end up in jail, unable to be with Matthew for years. Plus, your child might face bullying at school because of having an Omega father who has been imprisoned." William froze. "A child?" My eyes lit up. "Exactly. You could have a beautiful little Omega or Alpha baby." I don't like that idea. No one is closer to me than Matthew and I are." William didn't take the bait. He raised his hand to strike again. Unfortunately, it was too late. I snatched the dagger from his hand and quickly used the rope I had just cut to tie him tightly against the pillar. "You silly fool. Do you know that villains always talk too much before they fall?" As William snapped back to reality and prepared to call for help, I picked up a rag from the ground and stuffed it into his mouth. William's eyes were filled with disbelief as he struggled and whimpered. I chuckled lightly, kicked the dagger away, and touched the bracelet with a golden heart pendant Henry had given me earlier. Henry must have put it on me before he left to handle matters yesterday evening. He claimed it was an heirloom, but looking at the messy engraving on the golden heart, anyone could tell. It had to be handmade by that kid himself. I guess that kid actually gave me something useful. I let go of the bracelet I was touching, stepped forward, and patted William's little face. "Only you would care so much about Matthew's stuff." After speaking, I started patting down my body to find my phone. I don't know where this thing made my phone go. I needed to call the police right away. Just as I touched my phone and before I could even open it, someone forcefully pushed open the warehouse door behind me. Matthew looked at me, panting heavily. "Brother." I picked at my ear and shifted aside to reveal William behind me. Matthew's eyes widened in shock upon seeing William. "What is going on? Didn't William kidnap brother?" With Matthew calling him brother over and over, I couldn't help but think of Henry. "Stop calling me brother. I have a younger brother." Matthew strode over, ready to untie William. I sighed and stopped him. "What are you doing?" "Don't untie him." Matthew immediately stopped upon hearing me, looking at my eyes with tension. "Brother, Benjamin, my brother was just overwhelmed by stress. Please don't blame him or call the police. I'll make it up to you." I smiled. "What kind of compensation?" "I almost got killed. See that?" I lifted my wrist, where the rope had left dark purple bruises, which even scared me a little. "William, you went too far. I tied you loosely, but you squeezed me like you were trying to kill me." The moment Matthew walked in, William's eyes had been glued to him. Seeing Matthew obey my words just now, his eyes were filled with red veins of anger. "Brother, are you okay?" Matthew was panicked and reached out to check my hands, so I quickly took a step back. I shouldn't have touched him. Otherwise, Henry might get jealous. The moment that thought crossed my mind, I froze. While I was dazed, Matthew stared at me and said softly, "Brother, please forgive William. Don't call the police. If you want any compensation, our Chu family will provide it." A wave of joy washed over me. Really? Seeing hope in my reaction, Matthew immediately nodded, yes, give me back the 70 million. And regarding the 30 million, your Chu family must guarantee that you will never ask for it again. I felt that wasn't quite right, so I added, put it in writing. Also, state clearly that no one from the Chu family is ever to show their face before me again. Matthew looked at me and asked softly, brother, does that include me? I shot back, aren't you part of the Chu family? Matthew lowered his head and remained silent for a while before answering. Yes, exactly, I said, just stay far away from me. I threw William's phone onto the ground and walked out. The warehouse door opened again, and a group of fully armed men in black rushed in all at once. Henry walked in slowly, his expression utterly cold. But the moment he saw me, all his pretense fell away. His eyes were red as he rushed toward me and pulled me tightly into an embrace. Brother, I'm sorry. I'm late. I patted his trembling back with my free hand. Yeah, you're definitely late. That scene where I coolly grabbed the knife and pinned down the attacker was totally awesome. But too bad you didn't see it. Henry forced a smile through his tears, bending down to bury his face in my collarbone and giving a gentle kiss. I flinched and tried to push him away. Henry hugged me tightly. Brother, I love you. I looked at the sunset outside and said, explain everything to me tonight. Henry stiffened for a moment before quietly agreeing. Hearing his agreement, I leaned close to his ear and started teasing him. If you want a proper explanation, you'll do it after I'm satisfied tonight. Henry straightened up abruptly, looking at me with pure delight. Brother, is that what you mean? I pressed my finger against his lips and whispered softly, yes. The night was intoxicating, and the glowing lights created a mesmerizing atmosphere. I lay back against the headboard, watching Henry wipe his mouth with a tissue, and brushed aside some damp strands of hair. I got up, picked up a cigarette from the nightstand, and lit it. Through the swirling smoke, I placed my foot on Henry's neatly defined abs. You reckless brat, you dare to lie to me, a broken alpha still trying to pass as a beta. Explain yourself. Henry grabbed my ankle, pressed his slightly reddened lips together, and dared not hide anything as he spilled everything out. Turns out that the kid had stayed at St. Hart Orphanage when he was 7. He was being hunted by his family's rivals, and his protector was severely injured before abandoning him at the orphanage. At that time, I was only 9 years old and the little boss of the orphanage, helping the director manage those unruly kids every day. On Henry's first day there, other children targeted him because he looked pretty and was well dressed. Later, after I found out what was going on, I kept Henry by my side to protect him. Eventually, his family took him away. Because his family is so large, he's been strictly controlled. He only took over the group in the last 2 years and hasn't quite established his footing yet. So he didn't dare to come find me, but he knew everything about my messages and every move I made. Speaking of that, he reached up, took the cigarette from between my lips, and put it in his own mouth. He smoked it all in one go, crushed it out, and tossed it into the trash can. I kicked him in the stomach, but not hard. Then, leaning close to him, I slowly spat on his face. You're quite twisted. How many informants have you planted around me? Henry lowered his eyelashes. Not many, just one small team. I remarked, a whole team. You call that not many? Henry nodded. Originally I wanted to use 2 teams, but the housekeeper said that would attract too much attention. Plus back then, some of the veterans under my command weren't very obedient, so I had to keep a low profile. It was around that time that you got together with Matthew. As for what happened afterwards, I already knew the details. I vaguely remember that when I was 9 years old, I protected a child who had just arrived not long ago. But wasn't she a girl? And I wanted her to be my wife when she grew up? Hazel? Henry suddenly looked up, his face full of joy. Brother, you remember now? I reached out and grabbed Henry's face. Are you Hazel? Henry's face was squished by my grip. Yeah, isn't Hazel a girl? I found it hard to believe. Henry kissed my fingers. My bodyguards dressed me up as a girl to keep me safe from harm and handed me over to the orphanage. No wonder. I felt the moisture on my fingertips and patted his face. So getting bullied at that bar was intentional? Brother, please forgive me. I didn't know how to approach you without seeming too abrupt. I was afraid you'd run away. Henry quickly grabbed the hand I was trying to pull back and rubbed his face against it, looking pitiful. I let him rub against me, So you also threw the bottle cap on purpose? And let someone hit your face? Henry's beautiful eyes stared closely at mine, missing not a single expression on my face. Yes, but I hurt my own face. I let out a breathy laugh and poked his forehead hard with my fingertip. You really are. Henry took my finger into his mouth and looked up at me. Brother, I love you so much. When I found out you were with Matthew, I nearly went crazy. I saw how Matthew hurt you, and I wanted to make him pay. Also, brother, my glands are flawed. I don't have a rut cycle and won't be drawn to omegas like others do. My parents are gone, so no one will ever stand in our way. Brother, I've told you everything. Will you forgive me? I pulled my finger free. A thin thread of saliva connected us in the air. I stepped on his chest with my foot. It depends on what you do next. I didn't really enjoy it earlier. In an instant, the world seemed to spin. Henry tackled me down like an enthusiastic big dog. Brother, don't worry. I promise to make you happy. The moon was full in the branches, and the breeze swayed gently. The sounds from inside the house were lost in the night. In the end, William avoided the charge of intentional kidnapping due to mental health issues, but he still ended up in a psychiatric hospital. Henry might have been behind that. After all, he asked me then what kind of punishment I wanted William to get. I said that since he hadn't really hurt me, a lesson would be enough. Henry stared at me and then pushed me down again. The dean hadn't woken up, but it was good that her physical condition had improved. She should be waking up soon. During this time, Matthew came to see me. It was the same old routine of apologies and guilt, but before I could even process it, Henry pulled me away. Maybe because of Hazel from back in our childhood days. Every time I look at Henry now, my heart beats a little differently. I stared at the massive castle in front of us and pinched the person beside me hard. You didn't tell me you were this rich. Henry let me pinch him, pulled me into his arms, and kissed the red mark on my neck. Brother, marry me. Everything here is yours. My eyes widened in shock. What are you joking about? Henry's expression was very serious. I have 3 more castles like this, 3 helicopters, dozens of limited edition sports cars, a garden estate, plenty of liquid cash, and several major groups under my management. Brother, I have more wealth than the Chu family. For the first time, I realized that this young master was quite jealous. I looked at the beautiful castle and leaned into the person behind me. I want to start dating first, then get married, so we can nurture our feelings. Henry held my hand and gently inhaled at the back of my neck. There was no scent there, yet every time Henry showed such deep affection for it. Knowing clearly that there was no scent or gland, he still insisted on pumping his own scent into me. Brother, how about we get married first and start dating after? In that case, my money will all be yours. The temptation was too strong. I nearly nodded. I'll think about it. Henry was silent for a while before resting his chin on my jaw. Brother, I've been waiting behind you all along. Just turn around and I'm there. I raised my hand, letting the sunlight slip through my fingers. Okay,